We're here! Hey, I'm so glad you're here. You ready? Let's go! Welcome to InfoComm 2025. This is the largest gathering of pro AV professionals in North America. This year, it's taking place at Orange County Convention Center here in Orlando, Florida. There is over 800 exhibitors here, 400,000 square feet of expo space. People coming from 125 different countries. Why? Because this is the gathering of innovation and exploration in the pro AV market. But that's not the best part. I can't wait to share with you what Crestron is doing this year at this world-class event. If we haven't met, my name is Craig Durr. I'm Chief Analyst and founder of the Collab Collective, and Crestron has asked me to share with you, the customers, the partners, and the employees, what they're doing at this event. Crestron has brought its best game forward. We're talking everything from scalable control to intelligent spaces to real-time collaboration tools that enable hybrid work. Let's go take a look. Crestron is excited to be at the heart of this dynamic event. Upstairs at booth 2300, they are showcasing the latest in content, collaboration, and control. We're talking about solutions that enable productivity and enhance your workplace. Crestron is giving you the chance to see these demonstrations hands-on. Now, hey, come with me. We're going to talk with the leaders, see some of these product demos, and we're going to have a chance to utilize and see how they might work in your environment. Whether you're an integrator, an educator, an IT director, or an end user, Crestron's presence here at InfoComm is going to highlight a solution that's going to make your life easier, your world more productive. So you ready to start this tour? Come with me. It begins now. Brad.
Hey, Craig.
Hey, I am so excited to be here.
Great.
This is a beautiful space.
Well, thank you. We think that it will be a very welcoming spot to show everything we have to offer.
Well, I mean, that's the whole thing. I've been talking to the audience about what you guys are talking about here at InfoComm. You guys are like the premier presence here in this space, if you ask me, right now.
Yes, it is actually true. We have the biggest space, but what we're most excited about is, we have a real keen focus on how do we enable intelligent spaces for customers of all types.
Okay.
And we know that in order to do that, they need to focus on three things: enable content, collaboration, and control within that space to make it super simple.
That's great. And you guys are going to showcase that throughout this area, right?
Yeah.
But that is the technology angle. There is something else that really is at the heart of what you're delivering here, right?
Well, the technology, of course, is what we have invested in for a very long time, but to complement all of that technology and those solutions is our commitment to helping our customers and our partners succeed.
Right.
In order to do that, there are three key areas that we focus on. First is our technology, of course, content, control, and collaboration. But then second is this overt commitment to our channel and our customers to being exceptional together. And we invest in all kinds of things to help them be successful, whether that be training or design services, technical support, customer service, all these things. It's a huge area of focus for us. And then the last is, of course, fostering the True Blue community. We have tens of thousands of trained professionals that know how to design, support, and specify Crestron.
I love this. True Brew is a phrase that's been around for a while. Actually, your founder actually initiated this phrase a while ago. But I love that you're bringing it back to life. Not that it's ever gone away, but it's important to talk about what you're doing to enable the partner community and the customers to succeed, right?
That's right.
And it's like a people-centric idea.
Well, originally it was focused on customer service and tech support. But then as we got thinking about it, the reality is all of those investments go well beyond just the support aspect, right? It's field sales people that are there calling on dealers directly. It's technical people in the field as well. So there's so many ways that we really do invest to make that successful.
And don't forget about programs like Masters and things like this as well, too,
That's right.
Yep.
I mean, you've been to Madrid with us.
I know. It's a great event. I love it.
Yeah.
So I love this. This, I think, I used the phrase, and maybe I shouldn't, but this is the secret sauce, I think. This is what makes this a human-centric experience. And I love that.
That's
great.
Anybody can build a box. But we focus on the best, most high quality products. And of course, complemented with this True Blue commitment. But we should take you on a more detailed tour, and we have Joel that can help you do that.
All right, let's go over here and find out. Okay, great.
Okay, Craig, I want to introduce you to Joel.
You don't have to introduce me to this guy, come on.
But this booth is his baby. He's the one that slaved over all the details, and he's the best one to give you a tour.
I love it. Joel, why don't we do this right now? Brad?
All right, thanks,
Take
guys.
care right now.
Thank you.
So This is a booth tour. Let's
Yep.
talk about what are we experiencing here at the very front of what's taking place.
Yeah, this is our content collaboration control story in one space. So here we're in a flipped learning environment. Could be as much replicated in enterprise, in a training room, or anywhere in education as well, or government as well. But this is really a space that helps us encapsulate what the 3Cs mean, content collaboration and control, and how it relates to a high impact space, and bringing all that technology together that makes it really, really impactful for the users in the space.
What I like about the 3Cs is they're very symbiotic, right? You might have a solution where one leads the other solutions, or they may be equal in what's taking place here right now.
Yep.
Is there, I mean, there's a lot of great technology underneath each one of these, right?
Yeah, there is. Yeah. So we talk about content first in this space,
Yeah.
right? We're talking flipped learning, right? So there's obviously content that the teacher wants to share into the room.
Got it.
But we also want the students to be able to share content as well. So they're working in groups, they're learning together, and then they're sharing that with the broader audience. And to do all of that, we need a lot of technology to move the content around the space,
Okay.
right? And there we're leveraging things like AirMedia with wireless presentation. We're leveraging DM NX with AV over IP as well. So getting all those sources to all the different displays in the room as well.
Okay, so that's content. What about collaboration? What are
Yep.
some ideas behind that?
Yeah, and then collaboration in this space, right? Learning is great to do in person, but there is still remote learning that takes place. So we
Right.
have integration with Zoom rooms in this space as well.
Camera space.
Yep, all the audio is being picked up and fed into that Zoom Rooms experience. We then also have the multi-camera in here as well. So the multi-camera, as important for the remote experience as it's the in-room as
Right.
well. Right.
It's that whole meeting equity challenge that you have, right? And
Exactly.
the ability to break that down right now.
Yep.
And that leaves the last C in this stack right now, control.
Exactly, yep. So control, it's great that we have all this technology, but at the end of the day, if that technology gets in the way of using this space
Right.
for the people who are not technology experts, that's a problem.
Sure.
Right? So control is there to simplify that space and ensure that the room itself acts in the workflow of what's intended in that space. So in a learning environment, you have professors, you have academics, what they want to do is teach. They
Right.
don't want to learn how to use the room.
Sure.
So they walk in, connect things, displays turn on, sources route, easy to use user interfaces and buttons to press, the room that reacts to really the workflow and the behaviors of just humans in the room.
Right, and so that is where you bring the simplicity to bear for the end user. It's almost like you are taking on the complexity behind the scenes, so it's a very end user friendly experience, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Perfect control. I love it. 3Cs, content, collaboration, control.
That's it.
I mean, you guys have been building this for years. You're just putting a wrapper around it right now,
We
right?
are, yep.
That's
Yep.
good. Well, what do you want to show next to the audience here at the booth?
Yeah, we're going to head over to AirMedia next and
Okay.
have a look at some of the AirMedia technology we have.
I love this solution. Let's go talk about it. Come on, let's go. All right, Joel, we just talked about the 3Cs over here. I want to understand how one of my favorite products, AirMedia, fits into this 3C nomenclature.
Yeah, so AirMedia is a great example of taking those 3Cs and where we have a lot of great technology in that space for exactly the right environment, right? A training room. That's not great for a small meeting room or just a basic meeting space. And that's really where AirMedia can come in, because AirMedia does do content collaboration control all in a box, right? We have ways to present, get content to the screen. We can do BYOD collaboration,
Right.
connecting USB devices to that platform and running Teams or Zoom. And then we also have an element of control where we can automate the space, turn this display on when you walk in the room, route the sources automatically for you. So it really does take that idea of the 3Cs and bakes it into one platform.
I mean, this is almost foundational. I love what you talked about. The bring your own meeting experience as well, too, part of that as well. Now, this system right here is one that you guys launched within the last 10, 12 months, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
This is the AirMedia Connect.
Yep, Connect Endpoint, we call this guy. So this is taking all the great technology. If anyone's seen our Connect adapter before, that wireless device, which we're going to look at in a moment.
Right.
But this is moving it into a box that can now sit under furniture. So sitting in podiums, for example.
Right, I'm at the front of the room, like a lecture or something
Yep,
like that.
yep,
I can
going
put it in
under
a credenza. This is perfect. It's really flexible, but it still has the transmitter receiver idea that I'm sharing stuff wirelessly in
Yep.
that content collaboration.
Yep, exactly the same topology. So you still have your transmitter, you still pick which receiver you want. This, whilst doing wireless, does bring in some other technologies, like we do now wired over the network, power the device over PoE. So as we get into flexible furniture rooms where there is
Right.
infrastructure cabling, you can leverage that. And it also has some other great I/O on it. We now bring in HDMI and other things as well. So really a Swiss Army knife.
I love it. Now, the form factor that I'm used to, we talked about. Let's move over here real quick.
Yep.
This is the AirMedia adapter, right?
Yep.
And I love this form factor because this is what I'm used to when I think about bringing this into a conference room and experience, right?
Yep, exactly.
Talk to me about this here.
Yep, so this is the connect adapter. So you plug this in, it's a USB-C connection. You just simply plug it into any device that supports the USB-C DisplayPort alt mode. And what's gonna happen is it's gonna boot up, right? It's gonna get power from the laptop. You'll see it flash and do some funky things there. Once that boots up, content's gonna appear on the screen, right?
Look at that.
Immediately, we're getting our presentation to the screen. I didn't have to press any buttons. I didn't have to type in any codes. I just plugged it in. In the background, the other thing we're doing is we're actually bringing the USB peripherals back to the laptop as well.
Oh, so it's got USB touchback?
Exactly.
Oh,
Yep.
okay,
So
that's
this
great.
USB soundbar here is now coming back to the laptop. I can now open up Zoom, I can open up Teams, I can open up any platform I want to on my laptop, and I get a full BYOD experience inside of the meeting space.
All taking place wirelessly.
Exactly.
And this is the ability, again, to get into the heart of some of those content use cases, whether I'm just sharing the room, bring my own meeting experience as well, too.
Yep.
Right? This is fantastic. I love this.
Yeah.
All right. What's the next one you want to explore?
We're going to head over to our intelligent video lab where we have a whole heap of experiences around what we do with multi-camera, single camera, and all that goodness.
I love when he says labs. Labs sound really exciting. Come on, let's go. All right, Joel, what is this space?
Yeah, this is our intelligent video lab. So
Okay.
this is a place where we can bring customers to experience all the different parts that make up our intelligent video story. And these are the experiences we think that make those hybrid, remote, or in-person meetings so
Right.
impactful and so natural with our camera technologies.
And what of the C's does this fall under?
Yeah, this sits in collaboration.
Yeah, it
right?
makes perfect sense, right?
And
Yeah.
collaboration, you know, it is remote, it is hybrid, but there's also collaboration in purpose where multi-camera systems go
Right.
as well in large training rooms and
And
other
I
things.
love this. This is where we're talking about your ability to actually have up to 12 cameras in one room, I think, right?
Yep.
Is that
Yep.
incredible?
We can do up
right?
to 12, yep, anywhere from 1 to 12.
And these cameras, I mean, what is the concept that you're leveraging so they all stay coordinated? There's got to be some foundational thought processes that you're driving these cameras towards.
Yeah, we like to group the technologies that we deliver and then say, if whichever of those technologies you need for your space, there's
Yeah.
a product that lands on those. So
Okay.
we really start with the foundational technologies of group framing, right? So
Okay.
capturing and zooming in on the exact amount of people in the
Removing
room.
that negative space and making sure you have the best framed image.
Exactly, and
Okay.
dynamically adjusting that as the participants in the meeting change. And then we move into things like presenter tracking, so making sure that as people are walking around a stage area, they're tracked by the camera, it knows where they are. If
Okay.
someone else joins them on the stage, we have options to turn that into two-person tracking.
It almost does the group framing idea and
Exactly.
optimizes
Yep,
for that
whilst
as well. too.
tracking the both.
Okay, great.
And then presenter zones as well, where people are working at a whiteboard, for example, and they want the whole whiteboard captured, but it still follows them as they exit that area. So
Sure.
all those unique technologies for presenter tracking. Then we move into speaker tracking, and that's understanding where people are when they speak, right?
So it's like you're saying something, the camera knows and adjusts on you. I follow up with a comment or statement, it then moves to me, right?
Exactly. So we're using telemetry from microphones typically to do that, right? So we're
Right.
understanding beamforming microphones give us those XY coordinates and helps us to make those decisions as to where people are in the room.
Okay, now this is foundational. That's
Yep.
3, but you have some other ideas that you build on top of that, right?
We do, yes. And we have the Crestron goodness, we like to call it, or the next 3 parts of intelligent video. So that really starts with composition. So
Okay.
composition is taking multiple cameras from the room and putting them up on the screen at the one time.
Let's go over here and talk about that right now.
Perfect.
So that is the idea right now of bringing truly multi-camera images into one meeting experience, right?
Exactly.
And it might be a use case like this or something like this, right? Where I'm a presenter, I'm at a lecture or something like that. There might be an audience and we want to capture the audience reaction as well as myself.
Yep, as the audience asks questions, you want to be side by side with them on the
Okay.
screen so that as you're talking, the two of you look like you're having a conversation, right?
That's
Conversation mode, we call that. So,
Okay.
And we can do that with 2 cameras, we can go up to 3 cameras, 4 cameras, it's really whatever you want. We can inlay graphics on the screen as well.
Right.
So there's a whole bunch of really unique use cases that
You
can
know,
be
you know
done.
what I love is that you have the intelligence, for example, if it's just you and I, that you actually do some work to help size this correctly, right?
Yep.
So the idea is that we're the right height, our bodies are the same size and composition as well too, right? So it makes it look like a natural experience on that far end.
Yep, and that's what we're looking for, the most natural experience we can achieve.
Okay.
And then after composition, we lead into intelligent switching. So
Okay.
intelligent switching is the backbone of multi-camera, right? So whether we're doing that in between 2 cameras,
Right.
or with a centralized server, but really intelligent switching is just choosing the best camera
Okay.
in the space to capture that person.
How is that done? What are you using to orient that you're catching the best image of myself, for example, when I'm talking?
Yep, so we have visual cues
Okay.
is one of the primary drivers we have there. So visual cues is when you enter or exit a zone or enter or exit an area.
Okay.
We can use that as a trigger to pick a camera.
Okay.
We also then use audio cues. So audio cues would be typically from
Right.
microphones. knowing
Microphones,
where
okay.
people are. Could be beamforming microphones, could be tabletop push-to-talk microphones
Like
we
this.
have in front of us here.
Right.
After that, we really move into what we call custom switching, but allowing people to do it on things like Crestron touch panels, right?
Okay.
So Crestron control then comes into it. And really, once you're in Crestron control, I like to say the world's your oyster, right? We can do obviously audio cues, but you could have pressure pads on the ground. You could have anything that's driving your sensors, all sorts of things to again, make those decisions as to the best shot in the space.
That's that symbiotic relationship we're talking about between these three C's.
Yep.
So do we hit those three upper level?
The last one we
technologies?
have is visual AI. Right?
Okay.
So the AI element it starts with really what we call framing.
Okay.
So as a camera zooms in on someone, that's great that we get that perfect shot. The reality is humans be human, and they lean left, they lean right,
I'm
they
doing
move,
it right now. Yeah,
right?
right.
And what ends up happening is you end up shifting in and out of that frame, right?
Right,
And
right.
predicting human behavior is surprisingly difficult. So what we do is with reframing or framing, we're actually watching where that person's head is in the
Okay.
frame of the camera, and we're always tracking it in a nice smooth way, so that as they move, as they be human,
Okay.
they're always centered. The second aspect of visual AI is what we call direction.
Okay.
And direction is not only understanding where they are in the shot, but which way they're facing.
Right. That's an interesting thing. So if you start dealing with these images that you might compositing, it'd be kind of odd if you're talking to me and the camera's framing us side by side looking the wrong way, right?
Exactly, yep. So
Okay.
with direction, what we end up doing is I may be looking directly at the camera one moment, and then I turn to look at a colleague, and there may be a better camera shot than what was previously on
Sure.
me. So we call those candidate cameras, and what ends up happening there is it will pick a camera, which is intelligent switching, really,
Okay,
right? But we're
right.
applying an AI element to it, and it's selecting the best camera for the shot. So as you look around a room, you talk to the CEO one day, you talk to the far end the other
Yeah.
moment in the meeting, we're going to be switching cameras automatically based on that behavior.
All
And
right.
there's no audio in that, it's just purely looking at where your eyes, nose, and face are looking, and making a decision based on those parameters.
Man, this is a lot of technology. It's really simplifying it. So let's go over it again real quick. Foundationally, what you talked about is group framing, speaker tracking, and presentation mode, right?
Yep, exactly.
Okay, and then the other three you're building on top of that
Yep.
are?
Intelligent switching, so multi-camera, composition, putting multiple sources on the screen at once,
Right.
And then visual AI, applying an
love
AI element to that.
This is a really, really feature-rich space that you're dealing with in collaboration.
Yeah, and that's why we're calling it the lab, right?
I
It's
love
here
it.
to experience all those, see how they all work, and then you get to walk out and think, how do I apply those different elements in the spaces that I have?
All right, so we hit two of the C's. What's next?
We are going to head over to control next.
This is a great area. Come on, let's do that. All right, Joel, we are here at the next C. This one is?
Control.
So this is where the technology comes to life in my mind, right? We're talking about, for example, user interfaces. This is where people touch and interact with the technology in the room, right?
Yep, for most people, it's Crestron's pedigree, Crestron's DNA. We've been doing control for a long time. But yeah, user interfaces is a place where people walk in a room and they want to interact with it. It's typically with the user interface
But
in the space.
this is one of the really important things in my mind, because you want this to be intuitive. You want it to be simple, right? You don't want it to be intimidating, right?
Exactly, yep. So really that starts with, we like to think these are some of our most simplistic devices, right? Here we have keypads.
Okay.
These are button panels, right? So you can go up and press a button and the system will do what you ask it to do, but they've just got simple feedback, right?
It's
It lights up,
intuitive.
it does what you need. So classrooms, small meeting rooms, all great places for this kind of technology.
But we can evolve. Let's walk down this evolutionary wall of what we have available to us.
Yeah, so we shift up to our traditional touchscreens, right?
Okay.
So these are touchscreens that obviously start at 5, 7, and 10 inch. We also have wireless 10 inch versions of these. But really what these are is now you have a full canvas to do whatever you want with.
Okay.
So now we can control what's on that canvas. It is literally a blank slate, and you can design that to be, first off, branded for the customer.
Right.
But then more importantly, exactly the controls that are needed in that space.
And remind me and the audience, what are the tools that can use to actually create that custom image there?
Yeah, so we have a bunch of tools from Crestron. So we have Crestron Construct is the tool for doing our UI programming.
Okay.
And then we have a tool called Simple Windows, which does our control system programming. But all of those are based on foundational technologies.
Okay.
So on the UI side, we are based on things like HTML5, CSS, and JavaScript
Right.
under the hood. And then on our control system side, it's C# as
Okay.
well. So if you're coming from a developer background, you can still deploy stuff on Crestron devices using the tools that you prefer to use.
I love that it's evolving, though, the simplicity of this to match how the world's evolving. But then we have specialized use cases, right? When we start getting into very specific meeting environments as well.
Exactly. So here we have the same Crestron control interfaces, but on UC platforms.
Okay.
So here we're showing Zoom, Cisco WebEx, and Teams. But you can see here as I press the room controls button, it's flipping into standard Crestron control. So I already have a UC interface in my room, right? I have the Teams panel in my room that helps me start the call, end the call, see who's on there, all those kind of things, turn those features on and off. But I don't need a secondary touch panel next to it. Now I just get to embed it directly in that exact same application.
And this is some of the use cases that you were talking to me about. You know, a meeting room isn't just about the video conferencing. It's about the lighting. It's about the shade control, right?
Yep.
It might be about some other elements that you want to optimize when a meeting starts, right? Is this where it all comes together?
It is, yeah. And depending on the size of the room, you know, the UC application is important, but you know, that training room we looked at in the 3C space, it's very much about the in-person collaboration as well. So we actually have that same touch panel mounted here as well. So this is taking all the goodness of those panels, all the processing side of things, putting it in, you know, a very standard Crestron black box, but then the touch interface is really anything you want. So this is our 20-inch touch panel that we have, but this could be any touch overlay you want it to be. So whether that's large screen, any size you want.
The intelligence, everything we were talking about before is residing here, connecting to this as a touch panel, right?
Exactly.
That's fantastic. So this is everything taking place within the user interface, but there's more to talk about here, right?
Yep, exactly. So all of those user interfaces need something, some brain in the system, and that's where Crestron Control comes in.
Okay.
So Crestron Control as a category, obviously very important to Crestron as a company. What we started our company on was control systems.
Right.
Those control systems have evolved a lot over 50 years as well. But today, those control systems could be boxes in the room that the user interfaces are connecting to. Then all your devices are connecting to that, and it is aware of everything that's happening. And that's what really drives that user experience in the room.
Right, so this is the intelligence. This is the idea that it's aware of what I'm capable of doing in this room and actually helping you figure out how to present this in the optimal way for whatever use case is in that room.
Exactly. Yep. So it's driving everything that lives on the user interface. It's aware of what's plugged in where, what devices are on or off, and it's allowing that to drive the user experience in the space.
I love this. I'm getting you off track here, but you even have it in the image here, talking about what is control solutions, the interfaces, and the tools, right?
Yep. Exactly.
But one of the really exciting tools I like actually is that you're cloud enabled.
We are.
Right? And that is the XIO Cloud.
Yep.
Right. So talk to me about this.
Yep, so XIO Cloud is our cloud management tool. And really the way we like to position that or talk about that is you start with deployment, right? So XIO Cloud helps you to deploy on scale quicker because all of a sudden now I'm not doing devices one by one, I'm claiming them into the cloud and then I'm applying settings en masse, and as those devices come online, they're just simply pulling those settings down and running. So
this is a
deployment.
scalability opportunity, right?
Yep.
I've optimized for a room. I have a standard kit, let's say for a medium size or a large classroom or a conference room. This is my ability to manage and deploy that at scale.
Exactly.
That's great.
Yep. Because then after deployment, we shift into exactly that, monitoring and managing, right? So monitoring is all about that proactive approach, right? I want the room to tell me when something's wrong, not me have to go look.
Yeah.
The management side of that is understanding that changes do happen, right? There's new firmware releases, there's security patches that come out.
Right.
You may just want to change settings in a room. You may want to change the way it operates. And the XIO Cloud tool lets you do that en masse on scale across all your spaces in one hit.
And this is able to work with all Crestron devices that we just visited with, right?
Yep.
I'm able to see collaboration, content, control elements all together,
Yep.
right?
Pretty much every Crestron device with a network port can connect to XIO Cloud. And then we also do third-party devices as well with XIO Cloud Premium. So XIO Cloud Premium allows me to talk to, there's Crestron connected devices that have our software built into them, but we also have gateways and other things to bring non-cloud enabled devices out of that space and into the cloud environment.
That's great.
Well.
A single pane of glass for management in some ways, right?
Exactly. And when you mix all that together, you're aware of everything in the room. You can deploy it, monitor and manage it. The next kind of layer to that is evolve, right? So understanding how those devices were used, how that room's used, and using those analytics to help make better decisions in the future for your spaces.
And you've been cloud enabled for a while. While some people are actually just getting in a cloud management interface, this is a product space that you know, right?
Yep.
I don't want to say mature because you're still evolving it, but the point is you have experience with this. This is a proven solution.
Yeah, and cloud does evolve very quickly, and we're constantly keeping up with those updates and changes. But yeah, we have been cloud enabled on our devices for a long time.
All right. Hey, I see one thing over here I think is to talk about. This is something about 1 million plus boxes that are sold.
Yeah.
Should we go talk about this one next?
Check it out.
All right, good. All right, this is what I call the grandmaster of the portfolio, right? DM NVX.
Yep, this is our content story, right? So this is our AV over IP line of products. There's a bunch of products in this lineup, but we tend to categorize them as things like video over IP, audio over IP, USB over IP.
But in this last year, you guys celebrated actually putting out into market 1 million of these solutions, right?
We did, yeah.
That's
yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, so a great celebration for Crestron, but also one for our industry as we start to really move to AV over IP as the de facto standard. I mean, we can definitely say today that is the standard for deploying content in spaces and getting it to all those displays.
Well, talk to me through the product lines. What do you mean when you say AV over IP? So let's start with this group right here.
Yeah, so it starts with video, right? One of the primary use cases of AV over IP is getting video to places. So we have a bunch of video endpoints, obviously of different sizes, different features across those that are price optimized as you go down that line. But you know, the flagship 384, our most recent device we've launched, it brings in things like multi-input switching, USB-C, support for 5K, and you know, super wide and ultra wide aspect ratios as well. And then we shift down to our 4K devices and MVX 360s, and then down to some more cost optimized ones below that, including things like wall plates as well.
So this is the ability, not just in a meeting environment, but for any type of visual environment. I get to put the visual on the wall, on the display that I want to, right? This is what makes that, empowers that, right?
Yeah, the best way to think of it is I have sources, inputs, right, that I connect to endpoints, and then I have a network switch somewhere in the middle or my infrastructure, and then I have outputs, and those outputs are going to things like displays with a box just pretty much exactly the same.
Obviously makes this part of the content right?
It does, yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
But video over IP is only the beginning. You've got other technology you can deliver over IP.
We do, yeah. So then we move into audio over IP. So what we do with audio over IP is it is about getting content into that network as well. So we have a range of edge devices like these guys here, and these wall plates with connectors on them. So think about connecting against sources. You may be in a hospitality environment where you need to get you know, an audio source into or on ramp onto the network.
Right.
We then have things like amplifiers and switches that kind of sit in the middle of that system. Could go out to speakers, and then we have PoE-based speakers as well. So these speakers are network connected. In this case, you know, there's one active device on the network. We know where it is. We know it's online, and sending audio over the network and getting powered. And that PoE switch as well.
Some of those use cases you just mentioned, you're talking about the entertainment industry, right? When you're talking about, you're thinking about music coming over loudspeakers, but you want to have it synchronized. You want to have it crystal clear, clean audio out to your environment, right?
Yep, exactly. And then as we shift into boardrooms as well, we're obviously in meeting spaces, we're seeing a lot more audio over IP used in conferencing as well, right?
Got it.
Think about beamforming microphones. They're usually an audio over IP network. These inherently work in the same space.
That's right. But that's not the last technology over IP. This is actually one that you guys introduced here, was it a couple of years ago?
Yeah, our USB over IP. So USB over IP is built into some of the devices as well, but moving USB across the network is incredibly important as well. So as we head into spaces where we want to do BYOD, we want to get peripherals back, USB over IP natively works with all these devices, but there are also spaces such as interactive displays in training environments. And you want to move that touch capability around from device to device. We can do that with the USB over IP.
So any device that has a USB output, I can now put into this control of this content situation here, right?
Yep, and we think of that as layers, right? It is the video layer, the audio layer, and the USB layer, and the control, which is present everywhere in what Crestron does. But with those three layers, you can pick and choose. You want video to go one direction, audio to go another, USB to go somewhere else. It really is incredibly flexible.
All right, so let's bring this into a use case. Share with the audience a wow factor.
Yeah, so we use this. It's obviously in that 3C space in the front there, right? It is the backbone of that room. We're taking it to switch content around, sources around across multi-display from multi-source. So, but I did want to show you a MultiView demo we have here as well, which is a new feature we have coming
This is a great one.
DM NX as well. Yeah, so DM NX Multiview, right? What we're looking at here is multiple sources composited on the screen, all from one decoder.
Wow.
So there's multiple sources that are obviously feeding this, and then it's taking those and it's compositing them. And it's fully dynamic. So we can change those layouts dynamically.
Look at that.
See them fade and come back again.
I love that animation there.
You can go to full screen as well. And what's really important about MultiView is the scalability aspect of it. So whilst we're doing that on this display, there could be a completely independent display that's seeing just this source full screen. There's no compromises with our MultiView technology. So it's a heap of really key use cases for this. Things like training rooms, in education, courtrooms is another good use case. We're doing picture-in-picture or side-by-side of evidence and jurors and other things. We also see it in NOCs and operations centers.
I was wondering about that. I can imagine this, because this looks like that, use the term the war room or the network operations center, right?
Yep, and we're seeing a lot of those, you know, the size of NOCs is changing, right? Sometimes they're quite small these days in enterprise and they have two screens. Here we can put a lot of content content on that screen.
And by
So-
delivering it all through one box, I actually think you're making the technology more accessible, right? You're
Yep.
probably bringing total cost of that solution down in some ways, but still a lot of technology that you're delivering in that box.
Exactly.
That's great. All right. This is wonderful. Why don't we talk about what could be a really fun use case here?
Yeah,
on
we
this
have one more use case that we're going to see in person as we head over this way.
Let's go. Come on. Joel, what do you have here?
Yeah, this is our sports bar, right? This is another use case we have, another experience where you get to see a whole bunch of Crestron technology working together. So,
Look at you. You're like the bartender here,
yeah,
right?
What can I get you, partner?
Well, I want you to serve up to me some experiences. Tell me what I'm seeing back here behind us right now.
Yeah, so this is a great use case where we're taking really the two of the C's in this case, right? Content and control, and bringing it together in one space.
Right, so this might be, like you said, the sports bar experience where I'm seeing multiple things. How is this controlled? What does it look like?
Yeah, so we obviously have the two displays here. This could be multiple displays in the space. This
Right.
case we have two, but we get to pick what sources go on those. So very easily from a touch panel interface, as a worker at this sports bar, I can come up and press any of these buttons. The sources will change on the screen automatically. So
I
whether
love
it's
that.
game day or whether we're showing, one key event, we have full control over the space. Is exactly how we want it to be, including audio control. We pick which of these sources we're listening to the audio from as well.
So I might be listening to one game, but I'm staying up to speed on the highlights of the other thing. This is awesome during playoff season, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, we're talking like March Madness,
Yep.
anything that works well there right now,
Yep.
too. This is fantastic, but this is not all that you would want to control in a bar situation, right?
Exactly, yeah. So we have obviously the audio override pane here we talked about, but we also have lighting control in
Okay.
here as well, right? That environmental aspect of coming into a space and having that feeling, right? That feeling
Right.
that lighting gives people as they walk into a space. So we have full control over the lighting in here. We can pick different presets and scenes,
Okay.
right to our full nightclub scene as well.
You have lit up the night here. This is fantastic, Joel. Hey, you guys, this is a great way to end this tour, right? You have brought everything to life for us. I think it's fantastic, right? Between what Brad talked about with True Blue, with how you actually took these 3 C's, control, content, and collaboration, and brought them to life through the portfolio. This is fantastic.
Yeah, awesome, thank you.
Where should people go if they're not able to join us here at InfoComm to find out more?
Yeah, they can jump on Crestron.com. We have a whole bunch of information on there. We have blog posts, we have videos, we have post-show assets as well and wrap up. So that's a great place to jump to and have a look at. Other than that, reach out to your sales rep, whoever you have a relationship at Crestron, or just reach out and we'll reach out to you back and talk to you.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna go ahead and send these guys off, okay?
Awesome.
You can go ahead and continue with the bar.
Sounds good.
Everyone, this is Craig Durr. I hope you enjoyed this tour of Crestron at InfoComm 2025. These guys have a lot of stuff to be excited about, and I hope you take an opportunity to learn more if you haven't already. Again, like Joel said, you can reach out to your Crestron representative or just start at www.crestron.com. This is Craig Durr. Take care.